Have you ever stopped to think about the traps that credit might hide? We live in a world where the ease of splitting payments and financing almost everything seems tempting. But in the end, do these conveniences really bring benefits to your financial life? Often, what starts as a simple purchase or a dream fulfilled can turn into a snowball of debt, taking you far away from the desired financial freedom. And the most surprising part? There are certain purchases that, when made on credit, can sabotage all your financial planning and even delay your retirement. In this video, we will talk about 5 items you should never buy on credit. I'll show you how these choices can negatively impact your life, and more importantly, how to avoid these traps. Get ready because what I'm going to tell you could completely change the way you handle your money. Want to discover how to protect your wealth and ensure a secure future? Before we start, let's clarify one thing. Wizards, when we talk about buying on credit, we're not just referring to credit cards but also to financing. So stay with me until the end, because the last tip might be the most surprising of all. 1. Buying a car on credit can be misleading. Often, the idea of buying a car on credit seems like the perfect solution for those who want to gain freedom and practicality. After all, who wouldn't want the comfort of their own car without needing to spend a large amount at once? However, what many don't realize is that this decision can bring with it a financial burden much greater than anticipated. It's not just the price of the car that counts. There's also insurance, fuel, regular maintenance, and occasional repairs. All of this ends up turning the dream into a financial commitment that can last for years, draining resources that could be used to build wealth. Take John, for example, who decided to buy a new car on finance. He was excited about having a modern car with all the latest technologies. But after a few months, he realized that the loan payment, combined with maintenance costs, insurance, and gasoline, was consuming a significant portion of his income. Not to mention the unexpected expenses for minor repairs that the car, being new, still required. If John had planned better, he might have opted for a simpler car or even a used one, buying it outright or financing a smaller amount. This way, he could direct part of the money saved toward investments. Buying a car on credit can also hinder the achievement of other financial goals. Imagine the impact of a fixed monthly commitment consuming a significant part of your budget, restricting your ability to invest in opportunities that could multiply your money. Investments in dividend-paying stocks, for example, could offer significant returns over time, while the car loses value as soon as it leaves the dealership. This choice to appear successful with a new car can be costly in the long run and delay your journey towards financial freedom. Moreover, it is essential to consider how buying a car on credit financed can affect your financial planning. When the focus is on paying the installments, it's common for people to neglect other important aspects, such as creating an emergency fund or gradually increasing investments that generate passive income. Without these pillars, any unforeseen event can completely destabilize your financial situation, forcing you to incur new debts or tap into reserves that could be earning returns in the market. When we think about the numerous financial commitments a car brings, we realize that this choice might not be as advantageous as it seems at first glance. The decision to finance a car should be made with great care, considering all the costs involved and how it will impact your finances in the long run. And speaking of financial decisions, have you ever thought about how debts can affect not only your bank account, but also your well-being, especially when it comes to something as fleeting as vacations? So, 2. Don't go into debt to go on vacation. When it comes to vacations, it's easy to get carried away with excitement and start planning that dream trip to a paradise destination. However, financing this experience with a credit card can turn into a real nightmare. What initially seems like a small debt, with interest and fees, can turn into a major problem that will follow you for a long time, even after the vacation memories have faded. It's important to remember that vacations are temporary, but debts can be lasting, harming your financial planning and delaying your plans to achieve financial freedom. Imagine Anna's situation, who decided to pay for an international trip with a credit card. At the time, the idea seemed irresistible, splitting the trip into installments and enjoying without worries. However, upon returning, she faced a very different reality. The installments began to weigh on her budget, and with the accumulated interest, she realized she would be paying for this trip for much longer than expected. If Anna had planned ahead, she might have saved gradually for the trip, avoiding the stress, and even managed to invest the money saved in interest, increasing her wealth. Another crucial point is that going into debt to travel does not allow you to fully and relaxedly enjoy your vacation. The anxiety of knowing you'll have to face these debts upon returning can ruin the experience. It's much more satisfying to travel knowing that the expenses are already covered and that you won't have unpleasant surprises when you get back. This highlights the importance of proper financial planning, where travel and leisure are part of the budget, but without compromising your stability and retirement. Financially planning for vacations can be key to avoiding these problems. Setting savings goals for trips, using short-term investments to accumulate the necessary funds, and maybe even using dividends from stocks to finance part of your vacation are strategies that help you enjoy the break without risking your financial health. This way, you'll be enjoying not only the trip, but also the peace of mind knowing that your financial future is protected. There is nothing wrong with wanting to enjoy leisure moments, but it is essential that this does not compromise the upcoming months. It's better to save and travel with a clear conscience, knowing you're in control of your finances, than to return home with a suitcase full of bills to pay. 3. Don't take out loans to buy consumer goods. It's common to see people getting excited about the shine of a new TV, a state-of-the-art phone, or any other consumer good that promises to ease or improve daily life. The temptation to acquire these products immediately, often by financing or splitting payments, can be great. However, this instant gratification can be costly. The problem is that the happiness brought by these goods is fleeting, but the debt can extend for months, perhaps even years, if not well managed. Thus, what was supposed to be an improvement in quality of life ends up becoming a source of worry and stress. Let's take Marcos as an example, who couldn't resist the temptation to buy the most modern phone on the market, financing it in 24 installments on his credit card. At first, he was thrilled with the new features and the status the device brought. However, after a few months, the phone was no longer new, and the market was releasing even more advanced models. Meanwhile, he remained tied to the installments of the old device, which no longer satisfied him as before. If Marcos had planned this purchase more calmly, saving beforehand, he might have been able to buy the phone outright or even invest the money instead of going into debt. Moreover, it's important to understand that consumer goods depreciate quickly. When buying a product on installment, you may be paying high interest for something that will lose value in a short time. Instead of incurring debt to acquire depreciating goods, a smarter alternative would be to invest that money. Imagine investing in an index fund or in a stock of a company that pays dividends. These investments can generate passive income, while the financed consumer good may become obsolete before you finish paying for it. Another useful strategy is to adopt a more conscious consumption mindset. This means reflecting before any purchase. Is this item really necessary? Does it add lasting value to your life? Often, by thinking this way, you'll realize that you can delay the purchase, save money, and buy the item outright, or even decide that it's not as necessary as you thought. This helps avoid unnecessary debt and keeps the focus on planning that considers the long term and wealth building. The pursuit of instant gratification can be tempting, but it's important to remember that each purchasing decision should be made with care and planning. After all, true freedom comes from control over your decisions, not from owning the latest and most expensive goods. And speaking of conscious decisions, the next step is to avoid debts that might seem harmless. 4. Avoid going into debt to buy pets. Having a pet is a rewarding experience that brings joy and companionship to any home. However, it's important to keep in mind that this decision must be made with great responsibility, especially regarding finances. Buying a pet with money you don't have, i.e., going into debt, can be a dangerous mistake. Besides the initial purchase cost, there are ongoing expenses to consider, such as food, veterinary care, vaccinations, and other essentials. Over time, these expenses can accumulate, creating a financial burden that's hard to bear. Consider Clara's situation, who always dreamed of having a specific breed of dog. Determined, she decided to finance the purchase of the pet in multiple installments, without considering future costs. However, shortly after the acquisition, Clara began to realize the financial impact this choice brought. Between quality food, veterinary visits, vaccinations, and even the potential need for special medical care, expenses grew far beyond what she had imagined. If Clara had adopted a pet instead of buying one, she not only would have avoided the initial debt, but could also have used the saved money for an emergency fund to cover any future expenses related to her dog. Another important aspect to consider is that adopting a pet can be much more aligned with a conscious planning approach. Adoption, besides being an ethical choice, usually involves lower initial costs, allowing you to allocate part of your budget to other financial priorities, such as a retirement fund or dividend-paying investments. This approach allows you to enjoy the company of a pet without compromising your future. It is essential to understand that owning a pet involves a long-term financial commitment. Even if you don't need a loan to purchase the pet, it is crucial to consider whether your financial situation can comfortably support this commitment. Creating a plan that includes ongoing costs and potential emergencies can help ensure that both you and your pet have a healthy and worry-free life. Making smart financial decisions is the first step towards ensuring a more peaceful and stress-free life. And speaking of that, it's also important to think about how major life events, such as a wedding, can impact your finances if not well planned. Let's explore this in the next point. 5. Don't go into debt to throw a wedding party. Getting married is one of the most exciting moments in anyone's life. But it's important to remember that starting a life together with heavy debt can bring financial and emotional problems to the relationship. Often, the desire to host a grand wedding party leads couples to take out loans or charge various services to their credit cards. However, this choice can turn what should be a happy celebration into a constant source of stress, especially when the installments start to strain the monthly budget. Consider the example of Lucas and Marina, who decided to have their dream wedding, financing almost every aspect of the event. Initially, everything seemed perfect, but soon after the honeymoon, they began to feel the weight of the debts. The installments for the wedding financing began to impact other couple plans, such as buying a home or even creating a financial reserve for emergencies. If they had opted for a more modest celebration or saved up beforehand to pay for the wedding outright, they could have started their life together with greater financial peace of mind, without the burden of debt compromising their future dreams. An alternative to avoid this debt is to plan a wedding within your means. This doesn't mean giving up on a special celebration, but rather adjusting expectations and finding creative ways to reduce costs. For example, holding the ceremony at a simpler venue or at a time that doesn't require a long party can significantly cut expenses. Additionally, prioritizing what really matters to the couple, such as the presence of close friends and family, can make the celebration even more meaningful and special without compromising future planning. Deciding not to go into debt for a wedding party can, in the long run, strengthen the relationship. Starting life together without debt allows you to focus on building wealth and achieving financial freedom, rather than always chasing the next payment. In the end, the most important thing is to remember that the wedding is just the beginning of a new journey, and this journey is much more than a party. It's about building a life together with responsibility and wisdom to ensure a prosperous and worry-free future. After everything we've discussed here, it's clear that some financial decisions can have a deep and lasting impact on your life. But the good news is that, now that you know which traps to avoid, you're much better prepared to build a path toward financial freedom. So, I ask you, are you ready to take control of your finances and ensure that your future is prosperous and worry-free? How about starting to rethink those seemingly harmless purchases that could delay your biggest dreams? Remember, Wizard, true wealth is not in the things you own, but in the peace of mind you gain from making smart decisions. And if you want to continue learning how to protect your money and invest wisely, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. This way, you won't miss any valuable tips that could improve your financial life. See you in the next video.